Welcome to this over-unders edition, Texans in the Lab. I'm Drew Dougherty. That's John with his jazzy hands. John Harris, of course. We're excited to be with you. John, OTA's minicamp now in the rearview mirror officially.
Yep.
And they're on break for another 5 weeks and change. Lots of other NFL teams around the league still doing their mini camps and getting going. Most notably, we've heard about the Jets and what's going on with them, and a lot of the AFC South teams, really all of them, except for the Texans. So, and the Browns are doing it too. But the Texans are finished. And with that, our attention turns toward the fall. I know we got to hit August and all that other stuff in July as well, but let's hit the field. Let's get serious. Let's do some over-unders. But before we do, you all right, man?
Yeah, over-unders are good. I always like them, and I love in the lab. So yeah, ready to roll, man. Let's go.
Okay. 3.7. What the heck? 3.7, man. Over under. Are the Texans going to hit that number or go under that number? 3.7 yards per carry. That's what they averaged last year.
Yeah.
On the ground. You got to go all the way back to David Johnson and Deshaun Watson and Duke Johnson in 2020 for a Texans team that averaged better than 4 yards a carry in a season. They were actually at 4.6, which is not bad. I was surprised by that. I remember. Anyways, yeah. It's like, let's not go down that hole. But
2020, they were over 4 yards a carry.
4.6 yards a carry, John. They had nearly 5 yards a carry.
Really?
Now, I think a lot of that.
I would have never guessed that number.
Coming from behind, all that stuff, and maybe softer defenses.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. But do you think with Joe Mixon, with Dameon Pierce, with Dare Ogunbowale, Jawar Jordan, maybe someone else in the mix as well, some runs by C.J. Stroud, an end around or 2 or 3 or 4 by Tank Dell and Xavier Hutchinson, and maybe somebody else. Does Andrew Beck get in the mix? Does the number rise? Does the number fall? Heaven forbid. What do you think? Over or under?
We're going to go up. We're going to go over.
Yeah.
We're going over the 3.7. I mean, even getting to 3.8, which isn't a great number, but just getting to 3.8 is an over.
Gain.
So I'll take that. I think this offense is going to run the ball a whole heck of a lot better. Now, you threw in one thing that can change the math on this a little bit, and that's C.J. Stroud runs. He didn't have a lot of quarterback sneaks. When C.J. ran, he dropped the throw, he'd pick up 7 yards on a scramble. He'd pick up 15 yards on a scramble. And so, 2 runs for 22 yards. All right, he's up in the average a little bit. But I just think overall the run game is just going to be better.
Yeah.
I think bringing Joe Mixon in here was the right tonic. I think that Dameon Pierce in year 2 in this system is going to be much better than he was in year 1. And then you mentioned some other guys, whether it's, Dare or Jawar Jordan. I mean, J.J. Taylor maybe. Guys that maybe a lot of people don't even know about that we've been able to see at OTAs and minicamp. I'm excited to see J.J.
Maybe
Taylor.
Guys that aren't even here yet.
Yeah, that's the other part. You don't even, I think about Derek Barnett. I saw a video floating around of him on Twitter yesterday, and it made me think, man, we didn't even know Derek Barnett until, late November here? And he's incredible down a stretch. So, it's not outside the realm of possibility to get to 4. Don't want to get greedy, but this offense gets to 4 yards per carry. Forget it. So,
because
shut it down. It's going to be really difficult to stop.
Because of all the pass catching options.
That's exactly
and
right.
what you have there weapon-wise.
That's right.
Okay, so you're going to go over.
I'm going to go over.
All right, here's one.
Okay.
36.5.
36.5. Okay.
Last year in the win over the Bucs, the Texans allowed 37 points to Tampa Bay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That was their worst per game or in-game defensive effort. Now, you scored 39 and you won the game, but you gave up 37. 3 other times last season, you gave up 30 points or more in a game.
Right.
So 36.5, over or under in a game, will that be the worst in-game defensive performance points-wise by the Texans offense?
By the Texans offense.
Texans defense.
Texans defense. I think that I'm going to go under. We're going under. Okay. I don't see this defense. Now, again, you can get into a shootout. Happened last year against the Bucs. It was a game in which the Texans couldn't run the ball. The Bucs couldn't run the ball. And so it turned into a throwing contest. And there's probably one of those on this schedule. at some point, but I just don't see the Texans giving up 37 in a game. There's going to be a game or two in the 30s, probably just because of some of the offenses that they're going to be facing. But I can also see in some of those games where they're facing pretty good offenses, those games are at home and the Texans, jump up quickly and away you go. But I'm going to go under. I do think there will be a game or two where teams will score in the 30s, but not many.
Mm-hmm.
And there won't be any over 36.5. There won't be any 37-point numbers on this schedule in 2024. So I'm going under with the thought that, yes, there will be a couple of 30-point games against them because of the offenses they face.
Hey, John. Will Anderson Jr.
Yeah, I know.
He's entering year 2. He was the
know.
Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. Oh, hey, John.
I know.
Daniil Hunter coming off 16.5 sacks, a career best.
Yep.
He's got 87 and change in his career. Still a pretty young man.
Yeah.
Hey, John. Danico Autry, also coming off one of his career best years. He had double-digit sacks. So that three-headed monster, that holy trinity or unholy trinity, combined over under, will they hit 24.5 sacks as a recent?
Yeah. We're going
no
over
doubt.
That. Yeah, I don't. No doubt's a strong way of saying it,
because if you just take what they did individually and add it up, they shatter it. But is that going to happen? I mean, because is one guy going to get more or less because of the other guy or the other guy, that type of thing?
Well, that's a good number. I think they're going to get over it. I think one of those guys gets to double digits. But I think what Daniil's number was like 16.5 last year, 16.5, something like that. I don't know that any of them get to that number.
Yeah.
But could I see them, two of them getting to 11.5? Yes, absolutely. I could see that. I think they're going to be able to create pressure from a lot of different angles and spots and places and do different things and scheme wise, mix things up. So I do think that's a number that's very, very reachable from those three. And again, you said 24. I mean, that's 8 roughly on average.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to be able to get there because, to the point earlier, they're going to score points. They're going to put pressure on their offenses to have to match those points. And in so doing, they're going to have to throw the ball to be able to throw it. They got to protect against those guys.
Get
I think
more
that's
chances to ring them up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot more bucket opportunities, if you will.
I'm glad you said that number 8, because you multiply it by 3 and you're 24, and that's, half a sack under what I said as the over-under line. If you get 3 guys who get 8 sacks apiece, that's a problem. That's a good problem.
That's a good problem
for you, and that's a real big problem for opposing offensive lines. And
absolutely.
Offensive coordinators and quarterbacks. Okay, so that's that three-headed monster. But as a whole, Texans defense, last year they had 46 sacks as a team during the season. So let's set the over-under 45.5. Over-under. More sacks than last year, less sacks than last year.
I feel like for the things we just said, for the fact that you'll have more teams throwing the ball against an offense, hopefully that's going to put up some points. So they've got to chase, and because they're chasing, you can go chase their quarterbacks. So I think they're going to have more opportunities. Now, that's a pretty salty number that the Texans got to last year. I think
it's 2.7 per game.
Yeah, I think sometimes people forget that was one of the that was the best in history, but
close.
It's pretty close in Texans history. So it's going to be tough to match that number. The only way you would have been able to do it is if you added Daniil Hunter and you added Danico Autry and oh yeah, and Will Anderson's going into his second year. Well, yeah, you're going to go over it. And you're not mentioning Derek Barnett. So to me, the way you were going to get over that number, replacing John Grenard, who had a number of sacks. And look, don't discount blitzes, Jalen Petrie, Christian Harris, them pitching in 3, 4, 5 sack years into that full number. Because the first number you asked about was 24. That was just 3 guys. Now, Hunter, Autry, and Will get some help from Derek Barnett. They get some help from the blitzers, from the linebackers to get to that total number. So I think that number is doable. It's going to be hard. And I think it's over, but not by an excessive amount, just because that's such a difficult number to get to.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so that's sacks. Let's stick with the defense. Over under 13.5. Last year you had 14 interceptions as a team.
Ooh.
Stingley led the way with 5
Yeah.
of them. 13.5 INTs. Over, under.
Classic.
I said that about Stingley, but factor in you've got Jalen Petrie in year 2.
Yep.
Do we see more of Jimmy Ward? Because he was injured
Yep.
a good chunk last year. Does Kalen Bullock make a name for himself? What do we see?
And Kamari Lassiter as well.
At corner from Kamari Lassiter. So keep those in mind. And keep in mind, tie it into what we were talking about just about 4 minutes ago. The defense's, the front seven's pass rush. What can they do as far as getting to the quarterback? When they don't get the sack, are they messing them up?
Right.
Having them throw errantly?
I'm going to go under on this one.
Okay.
Because I feel like it'll be one or the other. I feel like they're either going to have more takeaways or they're going to have more sacks. And since the sack question was first and I was positive about that, so we'll go with that first. And then the interceptions, I would love for them to be there, but I just think they're going to be able to get to quarterbacks more often. Teams are not going to make dumb mistakes and just try and throw it out there like Joe Flacco did. And they'll eat it. They'll take sacks, but they won't give up as many interceptions. Now, I do think they'll be in the 11 through 13 range, but I think they're going to fall just short of last year. Teams are not going to throw much at Stingley. And I would love to see Kamari make him pay with 6-7 interceptions, but I don't know how doable that is. Boy, I'd love to be able to get there over 46.5, get to 50 sacks, get to 15 interceptions. Be interesting to look back at teams that have gotten to those numbers. What teams did that had 50 sacks and 15 interceptions in a season? I don't know. It's kind of interesting number to be able to look at. So.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm just kind of throwing it out there as benchmarks. But I'm going to go under just so I'm not a total homer for all of these. But I do think that they'll get more sacks because of the ops they'll get for that than they will interceptions. I think they're going to play. Look, first of all, they're going to play some smarter quarterbacks, some veteran quarterbacks, some guys that don't throw a lot of interceptions historically.
Right.
But I hope they get over that number. I just think they'll fall a little bit short.
Okay, so picked off the ball 14 times as a team last year. That's just interceptions.
Yep.
Okay, you also had 10 fumble recoveries.
Oh, wow.
On offense and special teams combined. So you only turned the ball over as a team 14 times last year. You were plus 10 turnover differential, which was a top 5 mark, tied for top 5. But you led the NFL with just 14 giveaways, 14 turnovers.
Right.
All right, so with that in mind, 24 was the takeaway total. You had those 14 picks. You had the 10 fumble recovers. Over under 23.5 takeaways. Does defense get there?
I'm going to go under, but not by much. I think it's going to be anywhere between 18 to 20 takeaways.
Do you think it's mainly just because of the cleanliness and high quality quarterback player you're going to see?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
The thing is two things. Number one, I think it'll be quarterbacks that, in particular, make decisions to eat it, take a sack, or throw it away, as opposed to throwing it covers like Joe Flacco did last year in the playoff game, as an example. Now, you do face some quarterbacks. You face some younger quarterbacks. You might be able to take advantage of that. But I just think, on the whole, you face a veteran crew of guys. And because you're facing a veteran crew of guys, I don't know that you get as many interception opportunities. And the fumbles, I mean, look, you get to a point where you swarm the football, guys are punching it out. They work on it. This defense is really good working on that. But I feel like some of that has got a little mix of luck in there as well. So I'm going to say that it's under 24, but I still think it's a healthy number that the Texans offense will do something with it. Whether they get 18, 19, 20, they'll be, I think, better scoring off of those turnovers than maybe they were even last year. So they can survive with 18 to 20 overall, but they're getting a lot more sacks. And look, you would think, you get more sacks, that'll lead to more third and longs, or leads to more risky situations with quarterbacks. I don't know. I think it depends on the quarterbacks you face. And I think this will be a pretty salty group of quarterbacks. So I'm going to go under the 24.
Under. Okay.
Under 23.5. Sorry. Under 23.5.
All right. Well, since it's mid-June, we got to wrap it up with this one.
Okay.
What is your favorite all-time summer blockbuster movie that you saw in the theater ever?
Now I'm going, man, trying to think what
Go
I
back. That's
saw in
fine.
the summer.
There's old people that watch and listen to this too.
Yeah, I know.
Dave Howard.
Yeah, Dave's listening. I'd have to look up because I want to say when
And we count ourselves as old too, Dave.
Yeah,
so
we
it's
are.
Not a
Yeah,
dig
we're
just
pretty
at
old.
you.
We're pretty old. Now, if I remember right, I think it ended up being a blockbuster. I'm trying to think when it was. Yep, I was right. Okay. My memory's a little hazy after 40 years. But I remember seeing in the same summer Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters,
1984. Yeah.
and Karate Kid. Karate Kid was actually released on June 22nd.
Holy cow.
And man, that summer of 84, I remember those two coming out. And I want to say that did Footloose.
It was 84.
I think it was 84 as well.
Your boy Kevin Bacon just spoke at the high school where that was filmed. He got like they signed like this online petition to try to get him to speak at the graduation. So he came. Yeah.
No, I saw Footloose in the summer, but it came out in February of that year, February of 84. So you had Footloose and Karate Kid and Ghostbusters all coming out in 1984 within months of one another.
The Natural also came out May 11th of 84.
Yeah, I mean that, and I was 1984. So that was after my first year here in Houston. So I was going into 7th grade. I lived at the theater. Ghostbusters came out June 8th.
Mm-hmm.
And then Karate Kid was June 22nd. So I guarantee you I saw all these at the movie theater in 1984.
Boom. Plus Beverly Hills Cop, plus Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, plus Gremlins, plus Police Academy.
Beverly Hills Cop, I remember seeing with my parents. I remember seeing with my parents. And that
was a December release.
Yeah, so. I remember seeing that with my parents. We went to the movie theater to watch that because
how'd that go?
The family was. My dad always couched it as there isn't anything that Johnny has heard, seen. He'll be okay. He'll handle it, and it was true. I handled it. I mean, I was whatever.
Yeah.
But it was they were big fans of Eddie Murphy, and so I mean, who wasn't? And so that was one of the reasons we ended up seeing that movie. But yeah, those movies all came out in 1984. So that's the year that I really kind of associate going to blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
That's the year because we lived at the mall. We lived. I mean, one of our mom's parents had to take us, we were 12 years old, and we just would go hang out at the mall, and then we'd go see a movie. And so our parents would just drop us off at 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning.
That's a good day.
And then we're seeing, hey, we're seeing Ghostbusters at 2 or whatever. Hey, y'all, who's ever parent, come pick us up at 6.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had all day in the mall. We have a little, parents would give us a little bit of money in our pockets. We go play arcade games. We go walk the mall. We go to Electronics Boutique. That was one place we always went to. We get an Orange Julius.
Spencer's
for sure. Absolutely. We just
Miller's Outpost.
Yeah, County Seat. We'd go to County Seat. That was one way back in the day to get some jeans.
Wait, which mall?
We go to West Oaks.
West Oaks, yeah.
Yeah,
that was
West
a good,
Oaks.
strong mall.
Man, West Oaks was the business back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not so much, but back in the day. So that's what kids used to do, man. We just go mess around, even all the way through high school. By high school, we're wearing our leather jackets and showing it all off. But 1984 was the blockbuster movie year. That was an incredible year. We just lived at the theater.
For me, it's the Top Gun, and it's the 1986 one, and the 2022 one, because Top Gun Maverick, I thought was everything Top Gun was, but every part of it was elevated and even better. But I remember I had cut my eye and had to get stitches. I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't go swimming. I couldn't do a lot of things. And I remember going and seeing Top Gun with my dad over in, I believe it was Town and Country, the Lowe's 3. There's only 3 theaters or something.
Yeah.
Right there at the Beltway and I-10. There used to be a Radisson right next to it. But anyways, I saw Top Gun and loved it. I loved it so much I got a flat top haircut right afterwards, and was obsessed with all things military aircraft for about 2-3 years afterwards. So essentially, Top Gun, I mean, that's one of my favorites. And it was actually Top Gun Maverick. That's the first movie that he's now an 8-year-old, saw in the theater.
Really?
It's only the second movie that my 10-year-old, actually my 11-year-old, saw in the theater. So they loved it. They ate it up. Saw it 3 times because I took my two boys and we were all just gaga about it.
Yeah.
That my older boy's twin sister said, "I like movies too. Why can't you take me?" And so we took her on we all the four of us, me, the twins, and the boy. We went and saw it on a Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday late morning. It was awesome. And in between all that, my wife and I went and we saw it. And then the day it became available on Amazon, we went and we bought that. So we've had it since, and we love it.
Yeah, Top Gun Maverick's tremendous. Whenever I was coaching many, many years ago, and we'd go on a long trip, be it St. Petersburg or Tampa or whatever, and there will always be a VCR or a CD or a DVD player. And so the guys are always, hey, coach, can we watch a movie? Like, yeah, sure, whatever. What do you want to watch? Every single long trip, Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
Top Gun and Navy SEALs. Those are the two they wanted to watch, which I was like, all right, cool. We'll go with that. We'll go with those two.
Good.
They seem fine, so we'll go with it. So those are the two they wanted to watch all the time on all the trips.
It's a good crew of kids then. If
it was good taste. Good crew. Yeah. Top Gun for sure.
All right. Well, you're a Top Gun actor. Actually, Top Gun podcaster.
Well, thank you, man.
Now I'm taking from Team America, the Puppets movie, which that's a good one too. But yeah, hey, this is fun. Always good talking with you.
Yeah,
and Over Unders is now complete. We hit the over.